Alright, so sorry about the delay in getting you all this video, but this is going to be the video for 6.6 as promised. We will jump back and do, can't remember if it's 6.3 or 6.4. 6.4 we will go back to, but 6.5 we are still going to skip. So we'll go back to 6.4 next week most likely. But 6.6, solve radical equations. Okay, solving radical equations. So there's some steps to it that your book lists, but I do want to make sure that you have access to them in the video. So steps to solving radical equations. And I suspect you did this in Algebra 1, most likely, but just as a refresher. Step 1, we isolate the radical on one side of the equation. Okay, that's if necessary. Okay, it may already be isolated. Step 2, raise each side of the equation to the same power to eliminate the radical and obtain a linear, quadratic, or other polynomial equation. And then step 3, solve the polynomial equation using techniques you learned if I can spell. In previous chapters. And then step 4, which I'm not going to require, is to check your solution. Okay, you can have extraneous solutions like we did when solving inequalities. So that is a possibility with these, so just keep that in mind when doing these problems. So once again, your book gives you lots of good examples about what to do and stuff, so I'm just going to run through problems like the homework, and we'll go about them that way. So there's problems that say solve equations with square roots, solve equations with cube roots, with rational exponents. Okay, the process is going to be the same for all of them. So if, you know, you understand one type's likely pretty easily. So for the first type, stuff like 3 through 11, we have, start with something kind of easy. 4, which is the square root of 3x plus 10 is equal to 8. So if you remember back, I don't know if I've actually said it in this class, but Mr. Cass said it a lot. But when you are solving equations, you undo what's being done to it in reverse order. Y'all are pretty familiar with that. You might not be as familiar with it when you have like a square root, cube root, something like that. But basically, if I'm taking the square root of something, to get rid of it, I got to square it. So, I square both sides, giving me, over here, 3x plus 10 is equal to 8 squared is 64. And now, you guys already know how to solve for x. So subtract 10, so 3x is equal to 54. Divide by 3, x is equal to, let's see, 54 divided by 3. I want to say it's like 18 maybe? Let's see, just check. Yep, 18. So x is equal to 18 for that one. Let's see. Try to get something a little harder here. 8 looks good. 8. 8 times the square root of 10x minus 7 is equal to 9. So, I can't square it first because I have a lot of other stuff being done. So the first thing I need to do is I need to add 7 over. So 8 times the square root of 10x is equal to 9 plus 7 is 16. Now I can divide by 8. So the square root of 10x is equal to 16 divided by 8 is 2. Now I'm to the point where I can now raise it to the power. So I'm going to square both sides, giving me 10x is equal to 4. And then to get rid of it, or to get x by itself, I need to divide by 10. So x is equal to 4 over 10. Or x is equal to, let's see if we take out a 2, we're left with 2 over 5. There. And let's see, that's probably good for that little section of problems there, since we're going to do some more with the cube ones. Alright, so that's that type. So pretty much you're just solving, I mean, all you're literally doing is solving for x, okay? They say something about, like, you know, you can go back and plug this in for x, and in theory you should get, you know, if you just do stuff with the left-hand side, you'll get whatever the right-hand side is. So you can do that if you want, but I'm not going to require the checking part. So I'm just going to make a note of that. You are not required to check your solution. Alright, you're not required to check your solution. So that's square root type, having to square it. Now, moving on to 13 through 21. Let's see here. Start with 14, so I'm a little easier. 14. The cube root of x minus 16 is equal to 2. So with one like this, okay, it still follows those same steps that we had, mentioned before, but I have a cube on, or the cube root on this side. To undo that, I need to cube the whole thing. So if I cube both sides, x minus 16 is equal to, I'm just going to show this one step here, 2 cubed, okay, or x minus 16 is equal to, 2 cubed is 8. Now I just got to get x by itself, so to do that I need to add 16. So x is equal to 8 plus 16 is 24. So x is equal to 24, and again you could plug that in over here. 24 minus 16 is 8, cube root of 8 is 2, which is equal to 2. Let's see, something a little harder. Go with 16 next. 16. So the 3 times the cube root of 16x minus 7 is equal to 17. So, first thing when I'm solving to get x by itself, I need to add 7 over. So 3 times the cube root of 16x is equal to 17 plus 7 is 24, I believe. Yeah, 24. Now I need to divide by 3 on both sides. So the cube root of 16x is equal to 24 divided by 3 is 8. So now, because I have the cube root, to get rid of it, I need to cube both sides. So 16x is equal to 8 cubed. Now I know 8 times 8 is 64, and I could, actually do that out, but I'm going to do it on my calculator. 64 times 8 is 512. So 16x is equal to 512. Now divide by 16. 512 divided by 16, again on the calculator, is 32. So x is equal to 32. Okay. And obviously I really have no control over it anyways because you're doing this at home, but I will allow you to use a calculator to do stuff like this, Alright, let's see, one more of this type. We'll go with 18. Just because I have the fraction, and I know that we don't really like fractions that much, so I'm going to do that one. Let's see. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do this. 18. Cube root of 4x plus 5 is equal to 1/2. So I have the cube root, meaning to get rid of it, I need to cube it, both sides, excuse me. So 4x plus 5 is equal to 1/2 cubed is 1/8. I need to subtract 5. So 4x is equal to 1/8 minus 5. Now I need to get a common denominator here, meaning I need to multiply this by 8/8. So 4x is equal to 1/8 minus 40/8. Okay, or 4x is equal to negative 39/8. Divide by 4. X is equal to negative 39, and now remember dividing by 4 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/4, so I'm going to write it this way. So x is equal to negative 39/32, and I cannot reduce that any farther, so I'm going to leave it improper. Alright, so that's the cube root type. And remember, as you're doing these problems, if you come across questions, feel free to send them to me, and I'll get back to you with an answer as quickly as possible. Alright, so the next type says to solve the equation, and this is dealing with rational exponents. So we have, basically it's being raised to a fraction, essentially, is all that means. So, start with 24. So 24 is 1/2 x to the 5 halves, not 5/12, is equal to 16. So I obviously still have to get x by itself first. So doing so, I need to multiply by 2. Wrong marker. So I need to multiply by 2, okay, because that's how I get rid of the 1/2. So x to the 5 halves is equal to 16 times 2 is 32. Now, what's happening here is it's being raised to the 5th power, and the square root of it. It's taking the square root. So to get rid of the square root, I need to square everything. Okay? So when I square everything, that gives me x to the 5th is equal to 32 squared. Okay? Now, I need to take the 5th root of this, and I'm just going to leave it this way. Okay? X is equal to 32 to the 2 over 5. Okay? Because that's how I take, 32 to the 2 over 5 there. Got excited and wrote the 2 too early. Alright, so now what you can do, what I'm giving you permission to do, is grab your calculator, and you can do 32, the caret button, 2 divided by 5, boom, the answer is 4, and you can just write it down. Okay, so x is equal to 4. So once you get to this step, permission to use your calculator to just figure out what that's equal to, because some of them you honestly might not know what they are. All right, and notice here too, all that happened from here to here was that I flipped the fraction. So I don't even have to do this in separate steps like I did. I can literally just flip the fraction. So from here on out, that's what I'm going to do when we get to that step. So let's see, 28. X minus 5 to the 5/3 minus 73 is equal to 170. Alright, the goal is still to get x by itself. In order to do that, the first thing I need to do is I need to add 73 over. So x minus 5 to the 5/3 is equal to 170 plus 73 is 243, I think. Yeah, and this is a 5/3 there in case you can't tell. So now, like I said, I'm just going to flip the fraction. So x minus 5, because I got to undo this. To do that, I just flip this fraction. So x minus 5 is equal to 243 to the 3/5. And then I just have to add 5. But probably what should happen is I do this part on my calculator first and then add the 5. So let's do that. 243 raised to the 3 divided by 5 comes out to be 27. So x minus 5 is equal to 27. So now I just need to add 5. X is equal to 32. Yeah. Alright, now the next one that we're going to do is number 30. So 30 is 5x minus 19 to the 5/6 is equal to 32. Well, to get x by itself, I need to get rid of this fraction up here, so I'm going to flip the fraction and put it on the 32. So 5x minus 19 is equal to 32 to the 6 over 5. And I can go ahead and do that. 32 raised to the 6 over 5 is 64. So 5x minus 19 is equal to 64. Add 19, so 5x is equal to 83. And then x is equal to 83 over 5. And I'm just going to leave my answer there improper. Alright, debating here if we want to do any more. I think we're just going to go ahead and call that good for this section. That's sufficient. If you can do stuff like that, I'm really not worried about you being able to do the other stuff that's in this section. Like things like, 34 through 42, the biggest thing is you have to find the extraneous solution. So you just have to make sure that, is actually true, or that it is actually a point, in fact, that's there, and it's important, but I'm really not that worried about us doing a lot of time with that, and especially since I'm a little late getting this video out to you for the homework to do this weekend, I think this is pretty sufficient for this chapter, or this section, sorry. Oh, I guess you need homework, though. Homework. I probably thought you were about to get off easy. Homework is 3 through 33 odd. 3 through 33 odd, just because these are pretty easy problems. It shouldn't take you too long to go through them. I mean, this whole video is like, what, 21 minutes now?